Don't you hate it when you open up a Master Duel deck profile and the person doesn't even own half the cards they're trying to tell you to play? That's crazy. Do they even play the deck themselves? Who knows? But if you want a good Mathmech deck profile, you've most definitely come to the right place. All right, so with Mathmech Circular making its debut in Master Duel and quickly making Mathmech become a legitimate tier 1 threat in the game, I thought it'd be the appropriate time to release my deck list that I used to get Diamond 1 fairly quickly. All right, so let's start off. Let's go over Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler, just in general, is a very good hand trap to have. The other thing that makes it good is that it makes a great small world bridge. So it could be a starting bridge or it could be a middle bridge. So let's say you open up something like Diameter, but obviously like the card that everybody wants to see is Circular. You can start with Diameter, show Effect Veiler, and then you can go right into Circular. Or if you open Ash, you can show Effect Veiler, go into Circular. Or if you open Effect Veiler, you can show Effect Veiler, show Nibiru, go into Circular. So it just makes a really good bridge. Next, Maxi, you just have to play this card. There's no explanation needed for this. We also play 3 Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is actually very applicable and very important in this deck because one of the hardest things for you to play around, unfortunately, is Max C. And Ash is a good counteractive measure against Max C. It's also good against Branded, and it's also good against Runic. Next, we are playing 2 Ghost Spell. This is maybe one of the more underrated hand traps, which I think is very, very good. So first off, it's good against Runic because you can Ghost Spell their field spells, so you prevent them from drawing the cards. And the thing with Master Duel players is a lot of them aren't used to playing around cards like Ghost Spell. So in TCG, I think one thing that people did learn is that, you know, sometimes maybe it's worth it to just draw 2, hold on to the other quick play spells, so that way if they do interrupt the field spell the first time, on their turn you can activate the quick play and then you can get the draw, because them having an additional interruption is very unlikely. But Master Duel players not really used to that, so Ghost Spell comes in very, very handy in that matchup. And in addition, with Mathmech being super duper popular, Ghost Spell against Mathmech, whoo, it is so freaking good because you can Ghost Spell the Super Factorial, and that means you deny them the ability to like rip one from your hand, send one from your field, and you also deny them the ability to get that Omni Negate from Diameter. Next, we are playing 2 Sigma. This was a ratio I was a little bit skeptical of, but the more I tried it and the more I saw it in other lists, I'm like, you know what, it does the job. And typically I would like to play 3, but unfortunately it's just very hard to justify, especially when you want to maximize your consistency. You really do just want to play the 40 cards straight up, and honestly multiples hasn't come up yet, so no complaints from me. 2 addition, 2 subtraction. If I wasn't playing Parallel Exceed, I would max out on these, but the fact that we're playing Parallel kind of helps circumvent the fact that we don't have to max and play 3 copies of each. Next, the weird thing that many people may disagree with is the 1 copy of Multiplication. So I play this deck a lot in the TCG, and I've experimented and I've thought about playing Nabla. I don't think it's necessary because you do have a combo line with Mathmech Circular where you can OTK with Multiplication without ever using your normal summon. And the other thing people will argue is, do you even need the Multiplication? I would say yes, because some of the most popular cards in Master Duel are targeted negation. So if one of your win conditions is an Access Code Talker, wouldn't you hate it if you made like a if you made a 5300 Access Code Talker or whatever it is, and you have Update Jammer, but then your opponent just has the Infinite Impermanence or the Effect Veiler or whatever target other negation there is that, you know, your opponent is playing? Yeah, that would suck. But Multiplication plays around this, so the fact that your opponent can't respond to Access Code Talker makes this really, really good. So if you link off the Multiplication and you summon Access Code Talker, if you do Chainlink 1 Multiplication, Chainlink 2 Access Code Talker, your opponent can't respond, right? So first off, the first thing that would happen is your Access Code Talker would go to 5300, and then your Multiplication would resolve, making your Access Code 10,600. And after that, if your opponent tries to negate the Access Code Talker, it doesn't matter. It's going to stay at 10,600. And the reason for that is the fact that they're negating the Access Code Talker and not the Multiplication. But the Multiplication is the one that's applying the double attack to the Access Code. And the only thing that you have to be wary of in this scenario is that your Access Code Talker in the end phase will go back to 2300. But if you're sitting on a 10,600 Access Code Talker, I assume you're probably winning the game that turn, right? Next, we play the 3 copies of the Diameter, you love to open this card because it is part of your combo to search. Sometimes either your Alumversion or your Circular will get stopped, and the cool thing is both Circular and Alumversion can search the trap. So if you open the Diameter alongside your combo, you don't care if your opponent gets hand trapped. Like, they initially just waste a hand trap. So Diameter at 3, very, very good. Highly recommend. 3 Circular, obviously this is the best card in your deck. This is basically Fusion Destiny. 2 copies of Parallel Exceed. The reason I don't max out at 3 is because we really just want to play a clean 40. If I played 41, it would probably be the 3rd Exceed, but honestly, there hasn't really been a scenario where it's come up. And I know some people will ask, well, why don't you just play Link Infraflyer? I don't like that card. First off, it's a level 2, right? So even if I just have the access to the 1 copy of Exceed, at least it's a level 4 that I can use with another extender to make Alumversion or make whatever rank 4 plays. And the rank 4 plays are the most important Exceed plays in your deck, so you would want to have a level 4 monster, not a level 2 extender. I think Link Infraflyer would be good in perhaps just a Heatsoul Turbo type of build, but I don't like that build, and I'll go over that a little bit later when we get into the extra deck. We are playing the 1 copy of Nibiru because 1, it does function as a small world bridge, and 2, it's definitely a very good crossout target to have, and 3, we are playing Max C, so if you draw into it, you're not mad about it, you know? 3 copies of Silent Mining because we got to max out on consistency. 1 copy of Mathmech Equation because you do want to have that extra card to search off the Circular, and additionally just a very good card to have to extend into like your turn 3 so you can OTK your opponent. 3 Small World, again, got to maximize the consistency. We really want to see this copy of Mathmech Circular. 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. This one's a bit unfortunate, but you know, with Runic running wild and being one of the hardest matchups, if not the hardest matchup for this deck and maybe a lot of other decks, you do just have to play the 2 copies of Cyclone. 2 Call by the Grave, one of the strongest cards in the game, counteracts Max C. Also just very strong in general. Even in the mirror match, it works very, very well. 1 copy of Crossout Designator. You know, in some decks you can justify cutting the 1 copy, but we do have like the 1 Nibiru, we have the Imperm, we have a lot of legitimate targets that we can play in this deck. And also, like I said, one of the most hurtful cards against this deck is Max C. So I think it's better just to maximize any counteractive measures you can take against this card. So that's why I think you just absolutely have to play the 1 Crossout. 2 Infinite Impermanents. I don't think I really have to explain much apart from the fact of why I'm playing 2. Again, it just not enough room. I don't want to play over 40 cards, and the reason say I'm playing 2 Infinite Impermanents instead of just like 3 Effect Veiler would be much better in a Heatsoul Turbo build, because obviously if you already build your board, you don't want to draw the Imperm off of your Heatsoul, say on your opponent's turn. That'll be pretty bad. But the thing I do like about Imperm is you can draw it as your 6th card if you're going second, and most of the time it's going to be very useful in that scenario. And lastly, the 1 copy of Super Factorial. You don't need to. Some people will play 2, but you absolutely don't need it, and we only need the 1 Lapulation. You resolve it once, you're probably winning the game. Actually, no, you most definitely are likely winning the game. Moving on to the extra deck, we have the 1 copy of Geomathemech Final Sigma. A lot of people don't play this card, but I mean, you're not wrong for not playing it. I don't think it's mandatory or anything. I personally like it a lot because I think it opens up a lot of OTK lines, and I also think it's a less vulnerable card than say Access Code Talker, because the Final Sigma just loses to a lot less cards because it's ineffective. It's in the extra monster zone, right? Where the Access Code Talker is a lot more vulnerable to say like Infinite Impermanence or Effect Veiler or whatever other card, right? But the most important thing I'm going to tell you is you need 2 win conditions minimum in your extra deck. So some people will not play the Final Sigma, which is fine, you don't have to, but they'll only play 1 Access Code Talker and no other boss monster. So my question to you is, if you're doing that, if they out your 1 Access Code Talker, how are you winning the game? And the answer is you're not. So when you're building this deck, keep that in mind, because I think that's one very important thing that people mess up when they're building a deck, is only having 1 win condition. And if you're playing a grindy game and you're not winning it right away and you lose that win condition, yeah, you're losing the game. Playing the 1 Lapulation, as I said, we're only playing 1 Super Factorial. We don't need any more. The 2 Alumversion, you have to play 2. It's very important you play 2. It comes up a lot. 1, obviously you do it for your starting combo. 2, hey, if they like DD Crow or Call by the Grave or whatever, banish one of your materials that you're targeting with the Super Factorial, at least you can make the 2nd copy and search follow-up for your next turn. Hopefully you have enough hand traps, or hopefully your opponent just doesn't have enough gas to OTK you, and then yeah, you're free to play from there. If you don't have it, you're just sitting on 2 dead bodies searching no follow-up, which is very unfortunate, so you gotta play 2. We're playing the Link Disciple and Link Devotee. This is the best combo to play in the deck. If you're just playing Heatsoul Turbo, I'm sorry, that is awful, and I'm just going to explain this right now. This is just better. If you're playing Link Disciple, Link Devotee, you're setting up follow-up because you're guaranteed to search whatever you want off of the Wicked, which is the Diameter, which is the best follow-up this deck has. 2, you're setting up an IP Masquerena, which gets you like a 3 to 4 negate Appaloosa on your opponent's turn, which makes it very difficult for them to play through. And that Appaloosa can also negate stuff like Ghost Spell. So if you want to preemptively use it before using your Super Factorial, you can play around a multitude of hand traps, which is very, very nice. And to people saying, oh, well, this plays hard into Nibiru, so does Heatsoul, but at least you know what you're getting with this, where if you make Heatsoul, you don't know what you're drawing on your turn, and you don't know what you're drawing on your opponent's turn. Like, there's a chance that on your opponent's turn you draw into an infinite permanence, and okay, well, now you can't use it because you have monsters on your field. And you know, sometimes you will draw into the hand traps, which is nice, but a lot of the times you might draw into, say, on your turn a Mathmech Addition, and then on your opponent's turn a Mathmech Subtraction, and it's just like, cool, now those cards don't do anything. Like, don't you wish you had actual guaranteed interruption as opposed to some RNG draws that could be absolutely useless to you? Doesn't that just make a lot more sense? Heatsoul is definitely the significantly worse line. I'm sorry, don't even try to argue in the comments about it. Heatsoul is just worse. The Link Disciple, Link Devotee package, 100 times better. Don't even argue it. I don't want to hear it. Playing the 1 copy of Lingerible, which is very, very good. It was good in TCG because of tier. Obviously, you could just summon one guy and you can play around the Soliac very easily. But in this game too, there are a lot of floodgates, and you never know what you're going to be playing against turn 1. A lot of people will want to hold some stuff. You can also play around Blackout with this, which is very, very cool. And just in general, any annoying traps, Lingerible helps you play around it. If you have the gas, you can definitely trick your opponent, summon something, make Lingerible, and then your trap is absolutely dead. Next, we have the 1 copy of Cyberse Wicked, an integral part of the Link Disciple, Link Devotee combo. Update Jammer, you're playing a Cyberse deck, you have to play this. This is one of your OTK enablers. The IP Masquerena, again, part of the combo for the Link Disciple, Link Devotee package. And if you don't know the combos, I'm not going to include them in this video. I previously made a video. It was catered to TCG, but now it's applicable to Master Duel. I will link that down in the description below. Maybe I'll try to make like the link thingy pop up somewhere on top of the screen here so you guys can click it, check that out. It's very, very useful. It shows you all the combos that you need to know. Next, we are playing the Splash Mage, again, integral part of the OTK enabler. Transcold Talker, same thing. Heatsoul, the only reason this is in here, and this is replaceable. If you really want, you can replace it. I like it, but I call this card Plan C. So if you have absolutely nothing else you can do and you just have 2 materials, you can go into Splash Mage, bring something back, make Heatsoul, and then just, you know, fingers crossed, hope for the best. The Appaloosa, an integral part of the combo, and Axis Cold Talker, an integral part of the OTK. If you want to watch me absolutely stomp people with this deck, all you have to do is check out my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/BearXBearYGO. I usually stream Master Duel or IRL locals. I don't know if I'll be streaming other games, but you know, if that's your cup of tea, go ahead, check it out. It's always a good time. Hey, yo, also, I didn't forget. I told you guys I would show you the spice for Small World, so you know what? Let's get right into that. So one of the most versatile ones is Archfiend Eccentric. This card can function as a back row and floodgate remover because its pendulum effect is to pop itself and 1 spell or trap card on the field. It also has a monster effect that'll likely never come up, but it can essentially do the same thing except pop a monster. So to bridge, you can start with either an addition or subtraction, with both of them having 1000 defense in common with Eccentric, or you can start with any light monster like Diameter, Valor, or Nibiru. Then you reveal Eccentric from your deck, and since both Eccentric and Mathmech Circular are light monsters with nothing else in common, you can add Circular. And guys, going forward, I'm just going to assume that you guys understand that for Small World, the cards can have no other stats in common, so I don't have to keep repeating myself. And then if you open up with the Eccentric, you can actually start with it, then reveal any light monster such as Valor or Nibiru in your deck, and then get access to Mathmech Circular like that. And if you want to add Eccentric, say because you really want to pop one of your opponent's back row, you can reverse engineer this and search for it instead. The next tech is Lava Golem, and I know what you're thinking, but Bear, you normal summon. Yes, I know, but with Circular in the game, you can actually do a 1-card OTK without ever using your normal summon, and for that reason, Lava Golem is very viable against specific decks. So if you want to search for Lava Golem, any light monster in your hand other than Nibiru is a way into Lava Golem, because you can show that light monster, reveal Nibiru in your deck, and since both Lava Golem and Nibiru have 3000 attack in common, you can add the Lava Golem. Additionally, any fire monster also gets you there for obvious reasons, since, you know, Lava Golem is fire. So you can start, for example, with Ash Blossom, which you can reveal Mathmech Edition, and this works the other way around as well, obviously. So you can start with Mathmech Edition, show Ash Blossom, and then you got yourself a Lava Golem. And finally, because I hate Runic so much, you can also search for Spell Canceller in this deck. So literally any Mathmech name and Small World equals Spell Canceller. You can reveal the Mathmech name, show Parallel Exceed in your deck, and then you can add Spell Canceller since both Exceed and Spell Canceller are wind monsters. Konami, please ban Runic, I'm begging you. So that will conclude the portion of the video where you had to sit there and listen to me talk. Just one last thing, I just want to thank you all for watching, and if you did enjoy the content, please remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and with that, let's get into the replays.